So this is a video no one really wants to make, but there's so many people around the world who care about me and my animals, and you've been on my journey with me that I've documented. And so I just wanted to share with everyone that we had to put our Mr. Yoshi pony down. Our little miniature pony who was the happiest little sweetest pony in the whole entire world. We had to put him down December 29th, so it's been a few weeks. I just needed time to compose myself, really. I'd never gone through anything like that. I've never put an animal down. I've never walked with someone through death. And so the whole process was just very overwhelming, and I've just had to come to terms with it and, deal with it. So I couldn't make this video right away. I had to wait a little bit anyway, and I just felt like there's so many people out there who care so deeply about us, and I just appreciate y'all so much. And people have been wondering where Yoshi has been for the last 6 months because we haven't put him in any videos. It all had to do with this in terms of his health declining and us trying to figure out what was going on. I think the goal for this video, besides letting people know, there's always educational pieces, even in awful situations. And so I just want to share what we went through with Yoshi, because even though that was literally the hardest thing I've ever done, it was the most rewarding thing I've ever done, taking care of him. And so I just want to share that if you are in a position to rescue animals and take care of them and see them through to the end, it is worth doing. But also at the end of this video, we'll do a little tribute to Yoshi. So really, Yoshi's health problems have been there since the beginning when we got him. It's starting to snow now, but we got him in the summer of 2022. Yoshi's health problems were just something we'd been trying to solve since we've had him. So since the summer of 2022, where we got him from a livestock auction, and he was in rough shape. He was very thin, he had no muscle, but I thought maybe that's just because of the conditions he lived in before, because we knew absolutely nothing about him. So we brought him home, started trying to get weight on him, and of course he's a miniature pony, and so you have to be very careful with them because they get obese and they can founder and things like that. But over time I noticed, okay, he's not gaining weight and he's not gaining muscle. I also started noticing some very slight neurological problems that he was having. Initially I would notice when he would sleep, he'd cross his back legs. I didn't act on it right away because he was also going blind, we could tell. And so I'm like, okay, maybe that has something to do with that. But as time went on and a few months in, I'm like, okay, there's just something not quite right here. And I also noticed I tried to kind of train him to do things, and I noticed he just couldn't pick up on it. And it wasn't just he was refusing to do so, it was a mental deficiency. And so we started taking him to the vet. We did the neurological exam, and they did determine, okay, he is neurological, but they watched him for months, and he didn't get any worse. He just kind of stayed the same. He never gained weight, he never gained muscle. His slight neurological problems were there, but they didn't really affect him. And for a long time, for a year, he functioned great. He was happy-go-lucky, take him out and do stuff with him, just very happy and functioning correctly. And so we're like, okay, well, maybe that's okay. Maybe he just does have these special needs that we can take care of, but he'll still live on and be happy. And so he was 7 years old, so he's young. Well, this last summer, things kind of took a turn where his problems started to progress, and we hadn't seen that for a year, but we noticed some certain aspects where we're like, okay, is something just going on, or is he getting worse? The first thing I noticed was his personality just kind of shifted, where he was a little bit just grumpy, and that's so unlike him. Originally, the vets loved Yoshi because he was the best behaved little patient, and miniature ponies are not known for being well behaved, but Yoshi was very well behaved. But then he kind of got grumpy and he started acting out, and I knew that wasn't like him. And so that was kind of the first sign that there may have been something wrong. he started having a lot of problems with his cervical area, like his spine, where like he didn't want you to touch his neck. If you were leading him and you even just put the slightest pressure on his halter, he would freak out and just start like backing up and rearing and going crazy. So that really to me was a sign of, okay, we need to start looking into this. By then we had started going to the vet like every month and just running tests and trying to figure out what was wrong. They were also monitoring him and his neurological symptoms. They were doing neurological tests regularly just to see like how he was moving and stuff, and that wasn't progressing at all. Like he was still the same. He had just slight signs, but he definitely had pain in his neck that they wanted to solve. We tried chiropractic, which initially it helped a little bit, but Yoshi just became so reactive, like you couldn't really touch him anymore. And so we just stopped doing that just for his peace of mind. We also did x-rays to see, okay, what's going on. His x-rays came back perfect. EPM test came back negative. Lyme disease came back negative. Cushing disease came back negative. We put him on some antibiotics, trying to see like if it was a virus, and it all came back negative. We're trying to diagnose him, but everything is coming back clear. My vet ended up putting him on a vet forum where vets around the country and maybe around the world, I think, could like comment and maybe help diagnose him. But everyone was stumped. Like no one could figure out what the deal was, because in essence what it was he had these symptoms of potentially what could be a very deadly disease, but yet it was not progressing in the rate that those diseases would progress. Like in all honesty, if he had those signs when we got him, he should have been dead within a year, but he wasn't. And he hadn't progressed at all in the disease. And so everyone was very confused. The conclusion they came to, and like I said, no one really knows, was that he had some kind of illness or disease when he was young, and it should have taken him out, but it didn't. So he was living with the long-term effects of it. I'll just say in the summer, those effects started to progress. And I just learned a lot about everything through this process, life and death. It was insane. But the biggest thing that happened was, for a while, he was in very rough shape with his neck and in pain. And that was probably in like September, October. And we were like, okay, we may have to put him down because I just don't want him living in pain. But then he actually got better. And there was no reason he got better. I mean, except like we prayed for him. And he got better for a little bit and he started to progress. And he was happy and back to his normal self. So I was like, okay, we're good. I mean, those underlying neurological problems were still there, but overall, like, the pain was gone. You could touch his neck now. He wasn't grumpy anymore. It was all good. So what happened the week of the 29th is I started noticing some other changes in him. So while everything got better, things were also at the point where it was like nothing was really working. Like they would try medications on him, it wouldn't work. And they would try treatments, but it would not work. He was testing negative for anything. So really, there was nothing in the natural that we could really do for him. And so what ended up happening is the week of the 29th, I just noticed some other slight changes in him where he just seemed confused. And initially I didn't realize it or notice it, but like I would put his food down on the ground for him to eat and I'd put it like right in front of him and he could not find it. And so I initially thought he was going blind in his other eye, even though it looked clear. Initially you don't really like, you're like, okay, well that's kind of weird, but maybe he's just having an off day. So I'd help him find his food. And that was kind of the first sign because he loves his food. And then like the day before we had to put him down, I looked outside and I noticed that he was just kind of walking in circles. And it wasn't like he was frantic or anything, but it was like to get across his field, instead of walking in a straight line, he would walk in circles to the other side of the field. And Yoshi has never been like a fast little pony. He's always been lazy. So, I mean, he would do it slowly. So it didn't look like too serious, but I could tell he was doing it. And then the other thing was he was just drooling profusely. And the vet had talked to me about that, about how, like, when their digestive system paralyzes, that is a sign of that. And so he was just drooling a lot. So I was like, okay, what is going on? And I had an appointment with the vet actually for Ruach in a few days. And so I was going to talk to him about it there. But I just, like, it was the first day. And, like, I took his temperature and everything, and he was fine. And so I'm like, okay, once again, maybe it's an off day. Because over this whole process, there had been so many ups and downs where, like, some days he would be really off in just his behavior. And then the next day he'd be fine. And so maybe I should have reacted then, but I didn't. And also, to be honest, I didn't know the time was coming to put him down, just where he was at. And, like, even though he had gotten better for a little bit, I just knew that his condition was not solvable, and there was nothing in the physical that could fix it. And I just feel like even in the summer, before it had all started to happen, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like there was something in me that was preparing. Like, I had the thought of, like, we're gonna have to put him down. But anyway, so the next morning I come out, and I was actually gonna go trail riding with a friend. But I go out in the field, and I don't know if this makes sense, but when you can just tell someone is done or something is done. Like, I looked at Yoshi, he was just walking around this field, and he just looked done. Like he was ready to go. And at that point, I still wanted to fight for him. But I wasn't going to fight if it meant in the meantime he's suffering. And so I just wanted to honor him and put him down before he could get any worse. And so, I didn't want him to suffer to the end. And there was something kind of peaceful about me making that decision. Like, I knew that he wasn't the worst he could be, but I knew he could get to that point. And so I just wanted to let him go at a time where it wasn't too horrible yet. I didn't want him to have to experience it any further. And the hard thing was, like, we had Daisy the sheep, and sheep can't be by themselves. And so we had to make arrangements for her and find a companion for her to go out with. So initially, Tucker's really gentle and sweet, so I just put Tucker out with her. And the vet came midday, and we put Yoshi down. And another point to this, y'all need to love and listen to your vets. And the fact that if you can make that decision to put your animal down so that the vet doesn't have to try and convince you, like, that's just the best scenario in my mind. And our vet came, and she cried with us, and we put Yoshi down, and it was the right thing to do, and I know that it was. It was just the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And so all that said, I know that's a long story, and I know it's dramatic, but the point I want people to take away is, well, quite a few points. Some people are scared to lose their animals or make that decision, and while that is very tough, like, it's doing right by them in the end. Like, if your horse gets to the point where they're just old and they can't function and you don't want to have to deal with that, so you sell them or get rid of them, like, that's not honoring them. Even though it was hard, and even though it was hard seeing Yoshi through to the end, it was totally worth it. And it was like the biggest pleasure I've ever had is taking care of him and making sure he was loved till the end. And I'm just happy to know that all of the animals that come to my property, they are staying with me until they have to go to the other side. And so I know that I'm going to have to deal with it again at some point, but they are here to stay, and I'm going to take as good a care of them as I can, and I'm going to love them every day until that point, and just make sure they have the best life possible. And so I don't know the background Yoshi had. I know absolutely nothing about where he came from. I don't know if he was taken care of or not, but I do know they dumped him at auction when he had all these health problems. So he deserved someone who is willing to, number one, fight for him, and number two, see him through to the end. And I think every animal deserves that. Second, if you want to rescue horses, but you're just scared of everything that goes along with it, it is totally worth it. Totally worth it. And I just feel like the bond you make with those horses is so much deeper than other horses. Like, Yoshi was a miniature pony. I couldn't ride him. And I couldn't train him to do anything because of his problems, but like, I've never loved a horse as much as I loved him. And I would just go sit out in the field with him and we'd spend time together. And so he was very special, and rescue horses always are. And so I highly recommend you do it. I mean, just be prepared, because obviously it's hard, but it's totally worth it. And also, I should mention, we left Tucker out with Daisy for like a day, and then we went and picked up another sheep. So we do have another animal here. Her name is Daffodil, and she's a little Catadin sheep. I think that's how you say that. But she is super cute and super sweet. She's scared of humans, just like Daisy is, but they like getting treats, so. Anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for caring about me and caring about my animals and watching this journey. And I'm sorry to share this news with you, but you mean a lot to me, and so I feel like I should share it with you. And so we're going to honor Yoshi with just some memories, and I'm just so thankful that he got to be in my life, even though it was just for a year and a half. But anyway, here's Yoshi's little memorial. You're so cute. Look at that little nose. Yes.
Good boy. He's like a kid acting like he's eating broccoli right now. Just doesn't want to do it. Oh boy. You want this? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was yummy.